Happy Saturday.
Oh, don't you dare look back, just keep your eyes on me. I said you're holding back. She said shut up and dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said ooh, shut up and dance with me. We were victims of the night.
Hello, and welcome to episode 29 of KnitScents. My name is Jan, and you can find me as Jan Ellen RN on Ravelry and on Instagram. We also have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/KnitScents. And we also have a Ravelry group called the KnitScents Podcast Group, and I hope you will come and join us over there. Whoa, what do we have this week? This was kind of a really crazy week. Yes, it is Saturday. Last week, I don't know. It was just the craziest episode. I thought it was Friday on Thursday. And I recorded on Thursday, which is a miracle. I mean, it's like week after week, so we're getting better. But not only was it a week after a week after a week, it was a day early. That was like a miracle, except I didn't think it was a day early. And it had so thrown me off, plus it was a holiday weekend, so that threw me off. But there is a good reason why I am recording today, which is Saturday. I don't have my watch on me. I believe it is the 9th, September 9th. Because yesterday, Friday, we had a tremendous amount of tree work being done. We had several trees taken down and pruning and all that fun stuff that made so much noise. And they started, I'm just going to slide back. Okay. They started at 7:30 in the morning. So here I'm thinking, all right, they'll be done by 1, 2 o'clock. No, they left at 12 or 1 for lunch and came back and started grinding more. And I was like, all right, forget it. I will just leave this till tomorrow. So I'm not messed up this time. It is Saturday. It is the 9th of September. And let's see. Goings on. Other than the tree business, it's been relatively quiet. Hopefully. Now, I say this, hopefully I say this every week, really should be a short episode. I'm actually, sorry, I'm going to turn my phone. My phone is off. Why is my phone making noise when it's turned off? Like, I can't win. I can't win. Maybe it's my iPad. Okay, hold on. We'll shut that off too. I'm really trying to keep the noises to a minimum. All right, let's see. Totally lost my train of thought. This week's knitting was really focused on knitting toys to send down to Houston, the Houston area, which was affected by, I'm sure you've all heard from, about Hurricane Harvey and the total devastation in the Houston area. So last week on the podcast, I had mentioned possibly doing a knit along if anyone was interested in knitting toys and sending them down to the Houston area. And I did reach out to the Hurricane Relief Center. I reached out to several organizations in Houston, which are literally inundated with donations and things, but not necessarily of the needed variety. And it's taking manpower. So I'm waiting to hear back of a local church, a local school, the address of somebody or some organization in the area, not necessarily directly collecting, like water and food and things like that, but that we can send our toys to. But the reason we were working so hard this week, and basically the majority of my knitting was of the toy variety, was because we had trucks from our local area that were literally taking supplies manually, well, by truck, down to Houston. So we wanted to make as many as we could to get onto the truck, so we knew that they would get down there as quickly as possible. So I don't actually even have any of my FOs to show you because they did all make it onto the truck, and the truck left yesterday for the Houston area. But I will insert a picture. I hope here. I knit 3 hedgehogs from the Purl Soho website. I had mentioned it and I linked it in the last week's show notes. I will link it again. It's a free pattern, so, you know, and when I go into Stash Enhancement, which really isn't Stash Enhancement, most of what I got was for toys. Well, now that I'm looking, probably not, but the yarns that they recommended, which I did get, my son and my husband happened to have been in the area in Soho last weekend, and I had asked them to pick me up a skein of each of the recommended yarns, which I did use for one of the toys. But I have to say, 2 of the ones I did in an acrylic, which I will show you, that I got from a local yarn store, and it was, I think it was even less than half the price. Maybe it was a third of the price. And it knit up just as well, if not even nicer. And it's machine washable. It was a pleasure to knit with this yarn. So I will show it later, but that's basically what I was knitting on. I did take breaks in between, so I'll show you what little progress I've made on things. Again, if you would like to join us, come over to the KnitScents podcast forum on Ravelry. We've had some suggestions. My very good friend Marion, who is Marion1 on Ravelry, has come up. She actually found the hedgehog pattern on Purl Soho, and she recently found the Elephante pattern from Susan B.Anderson, and she just finished it. And I have to say, she showed me a picture of it yesterday when she finished him. He is absolutely adorable, just adorable. And she said he was not fiddly, he was not difficult, he was fun to knit. So that's going to be my next animal. I think I'm kind of had enough with the hedgehogs, but the one thing I will say, if you want to knit toys or if you would like to join in, the one reason I just loved that hedgehog pattern is because there was no seaming, nothing. It is knit all in one piece. It's picking up stitches. The only thing that was minorly fiddly, and honestly it was only fiddly on the first one, by the second one it wasn't even a problem anymore, was just literally getting started, because you get started at the nose, so you're only casting on, I don't know what it is, 6 stitches and splitting them into 3 needles. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't difficult. After that, when you're finished, you're finished. Putting the ears on was super, super simple. If I could pick them up and put them on in the right spot and figure that out, trust me, anybody could do it. The only thing I would recommend, and I was really surprised when I saw it, in the pattern, in the yarn suggested, the yarn that she suggested to use for, which actually is what I used for the 3 of them, for the eyes and for the mouth, I think that was the only, yeah, it was the eyes and the mouth, it was a chunky, I would call it a single, but to me it was almost a roving that had been so lightly twisted, but it was really thick. And here I'm thinking you're going to put eyes and the mouth on, you'd want a thin. Worked beautifully. So I would say, if you're going to put, for the eyes and the mouth, choose a thick yarn. But you didn't have to seam it, nothing. You bring it in one end of the hedgehog, do the eyes, do the mouth, the 4 stitches, bring it out the other end of the hedgehog, cut it, and you're done. So that was really, really super, super simple. From what Marion told me, the Elephante is a very simple pattern as well, and we've been exchanging ideas on the forum, so please come and join us, and I promise as soon as I have an address of where to send them, I will link it, I will put it up on the board, and link it in the show notes. Actually, I'll probably just put it up on the board. But you can always send it down, and I will, when I get the address of whichever one is the closest, and I want to reach out to them personally to make sure that they will accept it and that it's needed in the area. I will just send it down to the local Salvation Army, because again, I don't want to take away from people that are handling literally life-saving supplies, but I really do want to get these things down there to bring some comfort to not only the kids. I mean, how many times do we just have a stuffy that we love and it just brings us a little bit of sunshine? So that's primarily what I've been up to this week, but I did make a little bit of progress on some other projects. So here we go. I have for my beverage today, my kids, I'm a huge coffee drinker. We all know that. But at night, I switched and was drinking tea, and I was brought up with the English method of tea where you put milk in your tea, and I don't drink milk anymore, and I can't drink tea without the milk in it, black tea, the regular tea. But my kids had gotten me a gift card knowing I love tea to David's Tea, and I went the one day it poured here. I guess it was Thursday, maybe. Anyway, it was just pouring, and all I kept thinking about was, I'm not even going to complain, because compared to what they're going through in Houston and what is heading into Florida as we speak, I'll slap a raincoat on, put a pair of boots on, and I'll go about my business without complaining. But I digress. What I did was, and I've never considered those herbal teas. I do drink green tea, I do drink matcha, but I never consider those tisanes as like drinking tea, like hot tea to me. And when I went into the store, I was explaining to the woman, and she's like, drink them iced. And I'm like, yeah, I have had them iced, and they are good. They taste really good. All right, that's an idea. And I realized that I have this. This one is from David's Tea. I don't know if there are other companies that make it. Notice this is a knitting podcast. I haven't even gotten anywhere near knitting. Now we're off on to tea. But anyway, what this is, you make the iced tea directly in the cup. So you're not making a big pitcher that's going to go bad if you don't drink this whole gallon thing or whatever. You make it by the cup. And what you do is you measure your tea into the cup part, and you pour in the hot water up to here. You let it steep. This piece slides out, and I'm not going to do it because we all know what's going to happen. It's going to fly everywhere. But essentially, there's a second piece that you fill with ice, and once your tea is brewed, you can put in any sweeteners you want. I usually drink it unsweetened. Sometimes I use agave. Put that in, and then you take your ice, your plain thing with ice, you squish it in, and it becomes iced tea. And I thought, all right, I have the gift card, I'm going to try it. And I tried, I think one was called the Queen of Tart, which was really good. It had it was very red. I don't know what it had in it, but it was very red. This one is blueberry jam, and it is absolutely just delicious. It tastes like drinking cold blueberries. It is so good. I could not drink that hot. To me, that would not be, I don't know, tea. I might as well just drink hot coffee. Something about that's not conducive to drinking it hot. I know some people do, and I'm sure it's enjoyable, but I would feel the need to put milk in it, and that would defeat the purpose, and I don't use the milk, and all right. The point is, if you would like to try it, you can get these cups. They're great for iced tea, making any of your favorite teas into brewed tea, into iced tea without doubling the amount of tea. That was the other thing, because when you make iced tea, I found when you go into like these stores of Teavana and they make those amazing iced teas, they put in like 4 times the amount of tea. This you don't. You're brewing this very small amount and just basically adding ice to make your tea iced tea. So that's my tea story. That is what I am drinking because I am absolutely dying of thirst in here today. Okay, works in progress. I did show some love to my September Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, which I am knitting in my Here Comes the Zombride colorway. I have to figure out. I don't know what's here. We're gonna fix this problem with the lights. Let's see. I'm either gonna make this much better or much worse. Let's see. Did we make it better or did we make it worse? I think I made it worse. Yeah. Okay. So that didn't work. Let's try it this way. I know I'm getting all up in everybody's face here. Not my best angle. Anyway, the colorway is Here Comes the Zombride. I don't know where I can hold it. There we go. All right. Oh, that's good. That works. It is white stripes with green and rust and, yeah, basically 2 shades of green and rust. And then the other stripe has a lavender. Oh, well, I'll show you in the sock. But I actually did make some progress on it. Got a good amount started, and I'm heading down my way here. I posted on Instagram, the most time I get sock knitting done is when I get my hair done and in doctor's offices. Fortunately, we stayed out of doctor's offices this week, so we only got the hair salon. But this is what I got done, and I really, really enjoy the color. It's 2 stripes, but 2 really different stripes, and then the white in between, which if you've watched me before, you know that I'm all about white with speckles. I don't know why, I love speckled yarn, I love hedgehog fiber yarn, but when I see white with speckles or a natural with speckles on it, I go crazy. So this is definitely my colorway. So this is my first September sock, but it is only the 9th, so I'm not too far behind. And I think because this has the white on it, even if I end up going into the stripes, I'm going to do another true afterthought heel until I can get it picked up and done perfectly and easy and whatnot, and then I'll probably move on to another heel. Oops, right in the face, I got that one. Okay, so that was project number 1 that I was working on. Very enjoyable. I love taking my socks along with me. So, and what is this? Is in a whimsystitches.etsy.com bag, and I had picked this one up. I've shown it before at SSK, but I just love this bag. Partly because it's clear, I can see which sock is in it, what project is in it. It is the perfect size for socks. I would say also, you know, for mitts, I would think a hat would be perfectly fine in here. It zips closed. I have carried it and knit in the wild with the handle. And it's great because you could just open it enough just to take the yarn out and knit without having the contents spilling out. So again, that is Whimsy Stitches Designs, and it's whimsystitches.etsy.com. So that is what is in that bag. My Find Your Fade, sadly, did not get much love this week. That's kind of what sacrificed in the bargain. Yeah, I should start putting things on here to remember where I was at. I'm still on color 3, and I think that's where I was at. Actually, I don't even know if this got any love now that I think about it. I can't get this thing off. Yeah, I think I'm still where I was at before. Just almost finished with color 3, about to fade into color 4, and no, I have not wound that yet. So there is my Find Your Fade just sort of sitting, and I have to say, I've been feeling the draw to, there's a Find Your Fade, it's Andrea Mowry is the designer of the fade sweater, Find Your Fade, something else, Lose Your Fade, a bunch of them. She has a sweater pattern, and right now she has her first mystery knit along. You know, that was so easy. Why am I struggling so bad with this thing? Oh, let's put it away. And I've started to see the mystery knit along, which starts with brioche. And even though this one is nowhere near finished, I'm like trying very hard to resist casting on that mystery knit along before I fall too far behind, because I really love doing brioche. Which brings me to my next work in progress, which is something that had been sitting and sitting for a long time. And I mentioned last week also that, and I showed the kit that came, Laura Nelkin, her M Club, which is, from what I understand, for next year, for 2018, will be undergoing some changes. I don't know, she has not yet told us what the changes will be, other than that it will be less expensive, which that's a good change. That's a good thing, but I think there are going to be less kits. So that's one change that I think will be applied to next year. But the last kit we received, and I showed it last week, it's a mystery knit along, which means that the pattern can be purchased and the knit along can be joined in by anybody who would like to join in. The name of the pattern is Navigatrix. If you're interested, you can look at it on Ravelry. If you purchase the pattern, you will also get a free hat pattern. The hat pattern is called Transitus, and I'm actually probably going to knit that hat. I've seen it on a bunch of people. I've actually located a source of non-fur pom-poms, so I think I'm actually going to knit that. I love it. She's doing the knit along with Transitus on her board right now up until the clue comes out, which I think is October 7th, the first clue for Navigatrix. My lament is this is the first year that I've been in the M Club and literally have only finished one of the patterns. The second one I started, and that's what I picked back up again and have been working on. The third one I have not even touched. I haven't even opened it, wound it, nothing. And I intend to keep up with the fourth one. So the second thing that I've been working on, and again, it didn't get too much love, but it did get a little, is I was actually calling it my brioche bandito, which last week, which was another cowl by Laura Nelkin. This is Brioche Booster is the correct name for this cowl. And again, this was not a mystery. Is it? Now I don't even remember. In either case, let's see if the pattern, because if it was a mystery knit along, yeah, I think this was a mystery knit along. So this is it was a mystery knit along. So I think this pattern is on Ravelry. It's Brioche Booster. Okay. Yeah, I know. I'm like, again, confused. But it starts with a provisional cast on. And Laura this was a very interesting idea. I have done provisional cast ons a lot. I've done them where you crochet the chain and pick up the loop in the back. I prefer to do the crochet method where you actually crochet the provision onto your needle and then knit the first row, which does not count as the first row. It counts as the provisionally casting on. And if anyone is interested, I can do a tutorial on that. But what Laura does and what she suggests doing is when you knit that first row, to knit in a lifeline. Why, you ask? Because when you pull out the provisional cast on, all of your stitches will be then held on a lifeline. You just have to go pick them up from the lifeline. You don't have to try to make sure that as you're ripping out your provisional cast on that you don't drop a stitch, that you missed a stitch. They're all in the lifeline. So that's a really brilliant idea, and I don't know why now, it's like one of those things like, why didn't I ever think to do that? If you just knit a lifeline in the next row, all of your stitches will be there when you rip out the provisional cast on. But it's one of those, it really takes somebody a lot smarter than me to think of that. So anyway, I picked this back up again. This was a custom dyed skein. It is Feederbrook Farm. Let me see if I can get, and I know she has other colorways, or at least she did when I saw her at Maryland Sheep and Wool. This one is, like I said, it's a custom skein, and I think her regular skeins have less yardage. This is 600 yards. And there isn't a colorway on here. It just is colorway B. So, again, I don't know. I know it was an exclusive one, and I'm trying to see what the back. This isn't even right. finding all the wrong information in here, so which goes to show you just how prepared I am. I'm going to go out on a limb. I actually think that this was an exclusive pattern because I think Creatrix was the other mystery knit along. Now that I think about it. So this pattern may not be available just yet on Ravelry. But it starts with brioche, and the way we did the brioche, instead of breaking up the gradient, I don't know if you'd call it, I don't think this is, to me, isn't self-striping. This to me is a gradient of just different colorways. But instead of breaking it up and dividing this into two balls for brioche, what we did for the brioche section was pulled from the inside and the outside. And that's how we started it. Well, actually, we started with garter, went into this brioche section here, which I had done already. Again, another garter stitch section, and then this lace section, this beaded lace section here, which is what I'm almost finished with now. And then I believe it's another garter stitch, and then I think we go back to a brioche section. So that's where I'm at. I think I had left off down here somewhere. I had just started the lace pattern, and I actually had to, I did have it marked on my Knit Companion, which is a blessing. Where you left off, it literally, you can pick something up like 3 years later and know exactly where you left off, and I've done it. But I wasn't sure if I hadn't advanced a row. The upshot of it is everything was copacetic and looked fine. I shot Laura a picture, and she said it looked exactly right. So here we are. That's my brioche booster cowl, which we knit. It's knit as a tube, basically, and then will be joined, so it'll kind of be like a double thickness tube. So this should be a really nice warm cowl, and obviously it's the end of summer. So I am looking to knit more wintry things. To that end, okay, brings me to just another typical event. I was looking for something in my closet. I don't even remember what I was looking for. Tearing my closet apart. Now I had I had purchased 3 skeins of Woolmeise DK in a green, which I now found out was Misselzweig, I think is the colorway. And I couldn't remember if I had actually started a sweater with it. I thought I did, but I could not lay hands on these 3 skeins, and I wanted to knit them into something. Tore my stash apart, couldn't find these skeins. Well, lo and behold, I go and look in the back of my closet, and there is a bag with my dance stuff in it. And in that bag was my sweater. I had knit it into, started a calligraphy sweater. There it was sitting in there, which should tell you the last time I've been to dance class, which is a whole nother story. But what I found when I dug it out was an almost knit up, or a pretty far along, calligraphy sweater. So I was literally up to the ribbing on the body. The whole body was done. So that's the other thing that I worked on, was I did the 4 inches of ribbing on my calligraphy, which is a pattern by Hannah Fettig. I did knit this once before. I believe I knit it at least 1, if not 2 sizes too large the last time. So I went down a bit in size this time. And I just love the way this yarn, the Woolmeise DK, knit up. The stitches just are truly, truly defined in here, and you can see from the raised ridge that it's definitely more than a 3-ply, because a 3-ply will do that. You will get a raised side to each of your knit stitches. But I love the way this is knitting up. I'm going to put this down because I actually last night finished the ribbing and have not yet picked up for the sleeves, which gives me the opportunity to try this sweater on. So if you've not seen calligraphy, it's basically a cardigan. It's knit from the top down. It's got this collar, this really large ribbed collar on the top. You knit a typical raglan sleeve up to, I don't know what would you would say, a couple of inches or whatever, and then put those stitches on a holder. There's where you're going to pick up for them underneath, and then you knit just plain stockinette. There are increases and decreases, so it is a little bit shaped. And then let's see if we can, if I wasn't so short, maybe if I stand on the chair. And then there's 4 inches of ribbing on the bottom. So it covers the bottom part really nicely, which I like in a sweater. I mean, I actually did one that came to the hip, which I loved. Actually never thought I would like that kind of sweater, but I do. This, I think I knit the second size in this, not the smallest one up from that. And you pick up a button band on either side, and I'm thinking with both, and I think they're like at least 3 inches each. So this should be, and this is all curled under. So this should fit just perfectly as opposed to the other one, which was just huge. There is plenty of room. I mean, I'm wearing this over a sweater and there's over a shirt. And there's plenty of room in the armhole. So I think going down a few sizes was definitely the thing to do. But I just love this kind of sweater. This is the kind of sweater you wear around the house. It's very comfortable. It's warm. I will probably likely wear this sweater until it's literally 10 degrees outside and I'm forced to put a coat on. But I was very, very happy that I found it, and I was even happier to find it as finished as it was, so that I can now say I have a Rhinebeck sweater. My only concern, I literally last night wound up the last, I have 3 skeins. This is the last full skein. Now the yardage on the DK on Wool Mice is a lot. It's almost 500 yards. I think it's 480, something like that. I have a teeny bit left from the body and collar and the body. So I don't know. I mean, will it make a full button band? I don't know. I think I should have enough for 2 sleeves and the 2 button bands. I will likely shorten the sleeves because I cannot stand when this, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of long sleeves anyway. I end up pulling them up and my arms are really little. They don't have much length to them at all. Obviously, what do they say? Your wingspan is the same as your height? Well, there you go. I don't have a wingspan. So I am going to try to make the sleeve come just to the wrist with the cuff. If I feel like I'm not going to have enough yarn, and I'm going to weigh the skein, and I'll do this first sleeve, and I'll weigh it. And if that doesn't look like I'm going to have enough left, then I will probably rip it back and just make 3/4 sleeves, which is fine with me because that's probably going to get pulled up too. So I'm fine with that. But fingers crossed that that will be my Rhinebeck sweater. Now I don't have to think about it, stress out, and rush, and probably end up having no Rhinebeck sweater at all. So there you go. That's all my works in progress. Spinning. I have been spinning, but I didn't bring it in because, again, I'm so glad I didn't say you're going to see a 3-ply last week because I haven't touched that one. But I have been working on the Into the World. I just didn't bring it in because it looks basically the same as it did last week. But I have been watching. I spin when I watch the ball game. And lately, especially last night, was just, I had to get up and walk away because the game was making me pretty sick. So I didn't get too much spinning done. But I have been spinning. I really would like to get more done, but like I said, the toys just really took up a lot of my time. Now I'd be happy to get like 2 toys done a week would be great. I think I did 3 toys in like 3 days or 4 days last week, so it was definitely. And what happened was one of the trucks, the main truck that we were all kind of counting on was leaving on Thursday. So Wednesday night, I was up until crazy hours knitting this, just wanting to finish the last hedgehog, and it was picking up at the firehouse that my daughter works at. So she called up and she's like, can we, it was like 10 o'clock at night, but it didn't matter. She was able to get in, and they were like, the truck left early this morning. They were so inundated with stuff that they couldn't take anymore. So we didn't even know. So I was in an absolute panic. So I spent half of Thursday on the phone knitting another hedgehog and trying to find another truck, which we did, that left yesterday. So we were able to get, because we had also gone and gotten baby food, diapers, wipes, infant formula, just all kind of stuff. I mean, the toys, we can ship, but I mean, my friends had dropped off, and there was no way I could ship this stuff. I could barely carry it. So we were lucky, and we did make the truck. So that was my spinning, knitting progress this week. So that takes us to stash enhancement, enabling, what did I get, that kind of thing. I really did not go out yarn shopping. The only thing I literally did go shopping for was yarn for the toys. I don't have a lot of worsted weight yarn, and again, I had wool, and I really wanted to make sure that these were things that were washable, that could get wet, that if they fell in a mud pile or fell in a puddle, weren't going to get ruined. And again, the wool that is called for in the pattern, which I did knit one of them out of, I probably will knit, I will use up the rest of it, but I won't knit those to send down there. I think it is much better to use the acrylic. And what I purchased and the yarn that I used was universal yarn. The pattern calls for both DK and worsted. And this particular yarn comes in both DK and worsted. So it's universal yarn. This is the Uptown DK. The other one that I used was Uptown worsted. I just didn't bring it all down. It's anti-pilling acrylic. For acrylic yarn, I mean, I'm not anti-acrylic. I'm knitting my, a blanket in it. I mean, obviously some are better than others. Some are softer, some are nicer. For an acrylic yarn, this was really nice to knit with. I'm almost sorry I started the blanket that I started in something else, because, and I may actually am not far enough. That yarn was so inexpensive. I may actually just stop and go and pick this stuff up, because this is such a pleasure to knit with. It was not splitty. It was not pilly. It feels soft. It doesn't have that crunchy, feel. I absolutely highly recommend this. So if you're looking for an acrylic yarn, that is a really nice yarn. It's machine wash and dry, and I made sure that the fiber fill for the toys was also machine wash and dry. So I just think this is your best bet. Not necessarily this acrylic, but an acrylic yarn. Check for the stuffing to make sure that also could go into the machine. So that was one. I can't say one. I got 4 skeins of this. I think it was like $6, I want to say, a skein, which I know it is a little pricey, because I did spend a lot less in my goals on the acrylic, but there is a huge difference. And if I'm going to make 1 or 2 of something, it doesn't really matter. But if you're going to make a lot of something and your hands are going to be working with it, it's worth it. And I wanted the toys to last. I wanted them to be able to hold up, and I really felt that this was the better choice. So that was one thing. The other thing that came last year and this year, I joined the Miss Bab's World Tour, I think it's called. And what that is each year for the World Tour, you're taken to 4 virtual destinations. And I'm just going to use this kit as an example because this came this week. This destination was Italy. So what they include in the kit is a booklet that gives you all kinds of facts about where you're going, things to do, dining, foods of the area. There's a recipe for a cocktail that's apparently yeah, this looks like, because it calls for 3 ounces chilled Prosecco, 2 ounces April, which is a beverage I've never heard of. It talks about the animals native to the region, gives you all kinds of recipes, tells you a little bit of the history of the country or the area, and then you get a pattern. What did they say? I was this close to a clean getaway. I almost made it through without any interruptions. We were talking about the pattern. So yes, you get yarn and a pattern. And the funny thing is, sometimes you get to choose whether you want warm colors or cool colors. I'm trying to think what other choices we may have had in the past 2 years, and I don't remember. I know there was one other time we got to choose. I thought I chose warm colors, and I'm now so glad I didn't, because the pattern is called La Piuma. It is a pattern by Asa Tricosa, and the pattern was originally designed in these colors, in the blue and the gray, and I saw that and I was like, you know, because they posted the spoilers, and I'm like, oh, why did I go for the warm colors? Which I liked. It was a neutral and a magenta color, a pinky color, which would normally be my colors, but this combination, I was like, why? And then I opened the package and I'm like, I don't know if it was a mistake or I forgot, but I got it. I got the blue. So I was really, really happy. And actually, it was originally knitted in the colors of granite and water meeting sky, as rivers meet the Mediterranean Sea along the Sardinian shoreline. So it's a knitted in one piece from end to end with asymmetrical feathery shapes and garter stitch and short rows on either side of the slip stitch spine. I've actually used the yarn that I've gotten. I don't know that I've knit any of the patterns, which I've liked some of them. Most of them, like I said, they're still sitting in the kits. I just like the yarn. I have knit one of the kits. I wasn't crazy about the design. Doesn't matter. I picked another pattern and was totally thrilled with it. I will knit this pattern. I love the pattern. I love the yarn. So that's what you get, this booklet. You get a pattern. You get the yarn, which this one is, and again, I got it in the blue and the gray, and it is, oops, I knew something had to hit the deck, gosh. Let's see, this is Woodberry fingering yarn. I don't know if that's a new base for her. I've not heard of that, but it's Miss Fab's Inspired by Nature Woodberry. I believe these are exclusive colorways. This is called Mediterranean, and it's the Autumn Destination Knitting Tour, and this is called Sabia. So Woodberry must be the fingering base. Again, I don't know if it's new. It is a 65% merino, 35% tussle silk, and each skein is 400 yards. So it's a total of 800 yards. So it should make a really nice shawl. Love the pattern. Really, really love the colors. Love the yarn. And the other thing that she includes is candy from the area, which is always interesting. This is Galatine, Glacia. I can't read. One of them looks like a coffee type candy. And Specie, which is from Perugina, which is known for their chocolate, and this is a limon candy. So she tries to give you some sort of candy sampling. And the other thing that you get a stitch marker. And the design of the stitch marker, that's almost like the best part. It's really fun because I've gotten some really unique stitch markers. Sadly, one destination was, I don't even remember where the destination was, but the stitch marker was like lava. And I didn't, at that time, I didn't know you could buy extras, and I was like so sad that I didn't grab them because they sell it very quickly. But this, the stitch marker this time was like a Venetian glass stitch marker. And you have the opportunity, and they're always very limited, to go in and get a full set of the stitch markers. Let's see, how can I do this without dumping everything on the floor? Let's see, will that work? So I did go and get the full set, which is multicolored, and here I'll just hold some of them up. There's I love this baby blue one. The dark blue, I actually have two of them because the one that came in my kit was the dark blue. There is a green Venetian glass. They were so pretty. I had to get the set. So that's the other thing that comes with it. Again, you get one stitch marker in, everybody gets different colors. And then if you like, you can go back in and get the full set if it's available. I know the moon one, when we went to the moon, the astronauts were very popular, very, very popular. So there was only a set of two that additional to the one that you got, and I grabbed that. I think there were like only 12 sets. They were hard to come by. So that's my other enabling. And I have to say, before I hit the record button, I knew this was coming in today's mail. This is my Lola's Choice kit. It is also from Lola Nelkin. Oh, and Lola is her alter ego. So I guess it's okay to call her Lola. Laura, Lola, whatever. I know I've spoken a lot about the M Club, but Laura has another club called Lola's Choice. And it's on a much smaller scale. It's actually, I think, a monthly club or every other month. I'm not sure. And they're smaller. They're accessory type items, little scarflets, a lot of jewelry type kits. Each kit includes everything you need, plus a code to download the pattern. And it just came, literally, I went out to check before I recorded to see if it was in the box, and it did. So we are going to open this together, and we're going to see what is inside this month's kit. And this month, oh my gosh, this kit is for, I don't know if you would call it like a cowlette or a necklace, but it is gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous, and it's called Jammy. And I love it. Look at that. And it's got beads on this little thing, and you can see there's like a curls. I don't know if that's a twisted I-cord, and a sort of like a knotless knot over there. But that is, oh my goodness, amazing. And there's another thing in here. Oh my gosh, this is too much. Okay. I don't even know what this is, so I don't have to look at. Oh, I know what this is. I know exactly what this is. This is, you know, the slap bracelets that have the thing on it? Well, this one is a ruler. Came in the kit. How cool is that? Boy, could I have used this last night when I was measuring 4 inches and didn't have a ruler in my bag. I had one attached, and I'm like trying to drag the ruler. If I had this slapped on my wrist, I would have known when I hit 4 inches. So that came in the kit. Oh, wait. Oh, I slapped it right into my, into my wrist. There is some candy in here, and I'm going to venture to say I'm sure there are beads. So we can just see materials included. 1 skein Stolen Stitches Nua yarn, 60% merino, 20% linen, 20% yak. Oh my. Oh my, my, my. I must knit this right away. This is sport weight yarn. And here is the information. And this is, the yarn is by Carol Feller. I did not know that Carol Feller did dyed yarn or had a yarn company. So that is really interesting to know. Excuse me. It's got 6 grams of size 8 Delica beads. Laura always picks these like fabulous color beads. She has the best like ability to match. Look at that. I mean, me, I probably would have picked some bead that would have stuck out like a sore thumb, which is why I get kits. I get kits. I don't, after that, which is still that big poor Stephen West debacle that I made, which is still sitting. I just don't have the heart to throw it away, which is about all I can do with it. I do kits now. I do not attempt to match anything up by myself. So anyway, that is the pattern. We just found it together. It is called Lola's Choice. I'm trying to see, it doesn't say on here whether it's monthly or every other month. I want to say it's monthly, but I will link the information below. How about that? And that will make it easier. And like I said, these are it's much less expensive than the M Club kits, which are bigger. They are bigger projects. These are smaller projects. They're accessory type projects, and they're fun. They're kind of like palette cleansers. If you are working on something big and you just want something that you're going to finish, to have the satisfaction of knowing you're going to start and finish something and it's not a long haul, these are great. I highly recommend this club. And the one other thing I got, which I'm so proud of myself that I was able to do this. Now, anybody else probably would say, it's not supposed to be difficult, but it was definitely a learning curve for me. We now have KnitScents buttons. I ordered these for Rhinebeck or for anybody. You see me, say hi. We now have KnitScents buttons. Okay, so I got these in anticipation of Rhinebeck. I thought these would be great to give out. Probably will put them in a little Ziploc bag with a card with all of the information from the podcast, Ravelry group, and whatnot, and maybe a little handmade stitch marker in there. So if you see me at Rhinebeck, which is coming up soon, please stop me, say hi. We'll talk about that later on. I do have some other things coming up. I am going the first week. I didn't even realize. I thought it was the week after that and the week before Rhinebeck. I'm going to Loopy Fling, which is October 5th. That's a Thursday to that Sunday. 5, 6, to the 8th. So that's Loopy Fling in Fort Collins, Colorado. I have been signed up for that for quite a few months now. So I'm looking forward to that. I booked my flight last night. I am getting in on Wednesday. If you are going to Loopy Fling, please come up, say hi, introduce yourself. I will have some buttons with me and likely some stitch markers that I've made. I don't know about if there's any organized stitch marker swap, but I will be very happy to share some of the ones that I've made, and hopefully I will make sure this time that they do not fall apart, although I only had that one fall apart, so hopefully I've gotten a little bit better at it. And that is about it. That was my week. So this week I would like to get some progress done on my sock. I would like to get some more spinning done, and I would really love to get, oh my gosh, at least one sleeve done, because we're running close to Rhinebeck and there was no way I was going to knit a sweater, and now all of a sudden, because I have one that's almost done, I'm like pushing to get it done. So that's what is on the horizon and the wish list for the week. I right now am sending all of my thoughts and good wishes and prayers and my heart down to Florida. Apparently the entire state really is bracing for the effects of Hurricane Irma, which is right on top of the heels of Hurricane Harvey, and apparently Hurricane Jose is out there somewhere. We've been relatively lucky because usually the remnants of these hurricanes come up to the northeast and reform off the coast as nor'easters, not really as hurricanes, which is how we ended up with Superstorm Sandy. But we've been very, very lucky which is why I think so many of us who had been affected by Sandy know the feeling and have really, there are almost every place I know of has sent trucks down and collected supplies. So just know that we will be here for you too. If you need whatever, we will do our best to get together here up north on the island as a community and send down whatever it is that we can send down to you as well. But in the meantime, please stay safe. If you've been advised to evacuate, please do so. Please take the advice of your local officials. Nobody knows that better than we do. Better safe than sorry. And I know so many times you say that they tell us to evacuate or expect, 3 feet of snow, and we end up with 3 inches and everybody gets aggravated. But you know what? Better safe than sorry. Better you take the milk, the extra milk you bought, and freeze it, and the extra food and stick it in the freezer. Then you can't get out, you've lost power, and you have no way to get anything in. And it's the same thing with evacuating. Better to spend a couple of days with a relative in a hotel, even in a shelter if you have to, and come home to a house that's safe and it's fine, than to be in that house and be flooded out with water and then have to risk the chance of somebody not being able to come and get you. And I realize I'm going on and on about this, but it's something that hits home, and I really, really am sending my thoughts and prayers to all of you in Florida, and I hope that you are able to all ride this out and everyone is safe and sound. Everything can be replaced except your life. So having said all of that, I'm going to wrap this up by saying, wishing everybody a very good weekend for the rest of the weekend. It is Saturday, and a very good week coming up. And remember, check out the KnitScents podcast group. And while you're knitting, just remember to knit with sense.